Welcome to the Jacqueline Social Exchange. I'm your host, Mary Daffin, and today we have a very special guest. She is an icon in the California political landscape. Her name is Donna Lucas. Donna is the founder and CEO of Lucas Public Affairs. Her company was acquired in 2024 by the Public Policy Holding Company and is listed on the London Stock Exchange, while she is still heading up that team. Donna's background is expansive. She has worked with California notables such as Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, First Lady Maria Shriver, Governor George Deukmejian. Donna was the chair of the California Chamber of Commerce. She is a founder of She Shares, a passion project we'll hear more about. In 2018, Donna was voted Sacramento Businesswoman of the Year, and I am so proud to say she is a Jacqueline founding member. Let's welcome Donna. Wow.
Wow. Well, thank you. You make me sound good.
Well, when I read your bio and looked in LinkedIn, you're amazing. I mean, truly amazing, the things that you have accomplished.
Well, thank you. You make me feel so good. There's still a lot to accomplish. So,
I love to hear that.
Yeah.
I love to hear that. So, okay, you're a woman in politics. That has been a road, I am sure. So what got you started in politics? Was there a specific person that you looked up to, or really?
Well, I grew up in a political family.
Okay.
My parents, Joe and Donna Lipper, met in the state capitol. My dad was a reporter, and my mom worked in the Senate and worked for Helen Cahagan Douglas, who ran against Richard Nixon for the U.S. Senate. So it was a family business. All of my siblings have generally been involved in some way in public service. So I actually grew up thinking I don't want to go into politics. And,
Understood.
But we, we're always involved, always had presidential elections. We were following things. But I went to USC and I studied journalism, and I wanted to be a publicist in the music industry. And so I started out on that career. And my first client was Ozzy Osbourne, who prepared me for any politician I ever worked for after that.
So wait, Ozzy? Okay. I did not see that coming.
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah, it was great. I was just starting my career. I worked for a PR firm that represented Ozzy Osbourne, Journey, Santana. But I realized pretty early on that I needed, I wanted to do something a little bit more substantive, or it was about public policy. It was interesting to me, politics. And I also had, like anyone in politics, something triggers that you get involved. And when I was at USC, I got kidnapped at gunpoint, and not at USC, actually, in Brentwood. And the man who kidnapped me was sentenced under a law in California called the indeterminate sentencing law. So he served a very short period of time in prison. It's a long story. But I became very passionate about criminal justice issues. And at the time, that was a huge issue in the 80s in California, was crime. And George Deukmejian was running. He was the attorney general, and he was running on a platform of really tightening up the laws about criminal justice. And so I became very interested in that. And it
Obviously you would.
Yeah. It was a challenge because my family and my dad, a lot of them involved in Democratic politics, and George Deukmejian was a Republican, but was lucky enough to work on his campaign, and he was elected, and that's what brought me to Sacramento.
So are Christmases interesting at your house?
Yes, Christmas, a variety
Thanksgiving.
of things, everything. Pretty much. My husband, Greg, who's the state librarian now, but was a reporter for 19 years with the Chronicle, and his father was the Chief Justice of California. And my brother has always still works in the state Senate, and my sister works for the UN. And I have another sister who started several children's advocacy groups. So we've all worked around in politics, my brother-in-law working in politics. But I think it's a good thing. It means we're interested, we care, we're passionate about really making a difference. And so I think sometimes we get a little loud, but
that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that a family can teach you how to take a stand for what you believe, and you still love the person.
Yeah.
And I think in today's climate, it's so polarizing that, if you disagree, you can't be friends.
Yes.
And it's just not the way it should be.
No. And I think it's really important, and it's destroying families and it's destroying friendships. And I think it's really important for people to, and I say this to myself too, believe me, I am not terrific on this, is listen, keep your mind open a little bit. Where are people coming from and how they think about it? But, I think being informed is really important. And that was something my parents really instilled in us, is like, know the facts, know everything. And that's a challenge these days when people are getting facts on social media or certain areas. But I remember very early on that my parents really insisted that we read the newspaper every day and that we see things from a different perspective. So,
well, two forms. It was television and newspaper. Yeah. That was it. And I remember being a child sitting down and watching Walter Cronkite with my dad.
Yeah.
And I thought growing up it sounded unbiased.
I think
whether it was, I'd look back, I don't know. Yeah. But through my lens of youth, it did.
Yeah, I think that's why I wanted to be a journalist. I actually went to USC as a drama major. I thought I was going to be a musical theater star, and that didn't work out.
I'm finding all kind of stuff about you today.
I'm still going to go back. That's my second career.
Is it?
Yeah, just wait. I'll be at the music circus.
Okay.
But I was a broadcast journalism major, and I really, Walter Cronkite was one of the inspirations. Connie Chung, the earlier newscasters, loved Barbara Walters, I love that, Mary Daffin.
Oh my God, Barbara Walters.
Yes.
I used to watch everything she would do.
I
loved her.
Yes, amazing, really good, did her homework, was great. So, I think it's still important to have independent journalism. I think it's really important here in the state capitol. We support a lot of stuff for great independent journalism. There's a lot of great publications doing that, Cal Matters, Politico, even the Sacramento Bee. I mean, to really support independent journalism is very important.
Very important. Mm-hmm. We need different
It's
sources.
critical for my work. My gosh, that's what we really need, someone who's going to look at stuff from a very fair perspective.
But in your line of work, you don't always have to agree with everything.
Oh, no.
I mean,
I don't agree with everything.
I know. And I've learned the older I get, people don't need to know my opinion on everything. I need to listen. And if I keep my mouth closed, I eventually will learn something, a different point of view, how they got to that stand or why they believe what they believe. And I love to find out on a religious standpoint why people believe what they believe.
I think that's a really interesting thing from a spiritual perspective and how they got there. But, one of my life lessons is, you don't always have to be right, or you don't always have to be the one who knows everything. And in fact, you learn a lot more when you listen. And you don't need to be the smartest person in the room. If you are, you need to find another room, because there's a lot of people who are really smart and very different ages. I learn a lot from young people who work for me. I learn a lot from my daughter. I'm like, wow, I never knew that, So I think it's really important to keep being a student of life.
So you mentioned people that work for you. I mean, there's such a difference. I read someplace that we have 4 generations in the workplace now.
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty confusing.
Yes.
And, I am definitely on the older end. We know that. And it is a different beast out there now. I mean, youth, they don't want the same things I did or do now. And so how in your business do you navigate that?
Well, it's challenging. We have, in my firm now, we have 20 people. I've managed people as many as 200. And I think the first thing you got to understand is people do value different things. They do look at things differently. If you have intergenerational employees. As a boomer, I really value being in person. I like to talk on the phone. I like to be in a room with people. I still think it's very important. We came up with a work ethic of, if you're there, first thing in the morning and you work really hard, you'll be successful. I think there's different generations that think differently on that. It doesn't mean they're not as effective in some ways. I think COVID really changed the way we had to think about work. And I think there's some good things that came out of that, the flexibility, the ability that I think, especially for women, felt like they had to choose between having a career or having a family. I don't think that's necessarily the choice anymore. You can have flexibility. But I also think you have to think about, and again, this is another life lesson. I say life is a dance. And some days you're going to have to work really hard, especially in the front end of your career. And some days you can take a little bit of break and focus on other things in your life. But managing multi-generations is interesting. And I think we have to listen and we have to pay attention. And the way people work is different than they did 20 years ago.
Oh, most definitely.
And some things are good about it, some things aren't. I remember really having to be at that office. I'd go to work at 6:37 a.m. and work all day because you didn't have a phone that could keep you connected. And so you had to be there. You could argue that having that phone gives you a lot more flexibility, although I do see that challenge when you're with your family. Are you on your phone? Are you really, focused on things? And that's been a big challenge for me too, professionally, is that phone is always right there.
Always.
It's not here right now. That's good.
Always. Because we had to turn them off.
Yes, yes.
This episode is sponsored by Miro Pictures, a creative and consulting agency dedicated to transforming stories into powerful narratives and helping your brand stand out in a competitive market. Elevate your brand today by visiting miropictures.com. That's MERO pictures.com. On working in-house versus remotely, I do think there are lessons, and I was an independent contractor, self-employed my entire life. And so I work solo really well. But when you're building a team, there are lessons that you learn being with your team, being in the office, elbow to elbow, seeing people, knowing how they react under stress. I mean, if they're off by themselves, you have no idea as a manager or a leader how they're reacting to what's going on because it's being typed. You're not watching body language. You're not hearing how they interact with other members of the team. So I really see both sides of that. And I mean, for us here at the Jacqueline, a hybrid situation for our back of house is wonderful. Now, if I hired you to be here at the Jacqueline, that doesn't work. You have to be here. So I do think it has to really evolve around the position, don't you?
Oh, yeah. And I think our business has changed. COVID, we were 100% remote, and I was really proud of our team. We could switch very quickly. And ironically, right before that, reluctantly, as an employer, I said everyone can have a laptop so they can work anywhere. Friday afternoon, you can have 3 hours to work at home. And that was a big deal, So when COVID hit, our team could switch pretty quickly to being remote. And one of the challenges with COVID was people were working too much. They were working all the time because that's what they had to do. And now we're seeing our clients come back. We are in downtown Sacramento. Sacramento's a unique space. There's a 6-block radius that people in the Capitol work in or in Sacramento business community. So the fact that when I walk from my office down the street to a lunch, I run into 5 people. It is very valuable to be there. Being in the office, collaborating, what you're saying, I absolutely agree. I think it's a much more effective way to develop strategy. We do a lot of strategy in our business. That's what we sell. And so being in the room, and I think it's helpful for people just starting their career to see other people, to see leaders. How do you handle a client in that conversation? How is the strategy working? I do think being in the room, being in the office is very effective. But I also do see some value in having some time that we do a lot of writing. So you can have quiet time where you're writing 3 or 4 pieces and you really need to be, in a quiet place for that. Or you need some flexibility. And I think this is the thing that I'm seeing with the next generation with kids, is can I have some time to do sports with my kids in the afternoon or pick my daughter up from school? I'll be back online after hours. That's different. Before, people were done at the end of the day. So it's a question of grabbing the balance in between. And we're really monitoring that and looking at it and listening to people on that. Because at the end of the day, what we want is the most effective workplace to serve our clients, to serve our employees. Our employees are what, our staff is what we sell. That's the talent. So getting the absolute best talent is really important. So what's important to them? And it is compensation. Absolutely. But in our work, it tends to be the type of work you're doing. Do you feel good about the work you're doing? the challenge, the ability to continue to move up, but also I think some flexibility is important. So we're balancing all of that, and it is challenging
It's
as an
challenging.
employer because I will say, yeah, I'm kind of like, let's all go back to the office 9 to 5, 5 days a week, and actually our work is 24/7, and so a lot of times we're working, all the time. So.
I understand that.
Yeah, you do. You
I
understand.
do
And you're an
understand that.
entrepreneur. And see, this is the other thing as an entrepreneur, you kind of work all the time and you like it and you figure out how it works within your personal life. And some people are not entrepreneurs. Some
No.
people are like, hey, I'm here until 6 o'clock.
You
and
have
then-
me till
Yeah.
5:30.
And I'm focused until then. And then after that, no. So how do you make that work in your business? And especially in a business like ours, which is politics and policy where things happen 24/7 and crisis communications. We do a lot of crisis. And I have a great dedicated team. I have a lot of people who are focused 100%. But, you have to balance it all.
And it is a puzzle.
Yes, it is.
We are finding that
When
out.
you figure it out, can you tell me?
Please, I'll let you know. No, we won't. We're going to lean into you.
Yeah.
I do think there's something that you touched on, and it is presence. So there's a physical presence, but also there's a presence of being where you should be. And this was a conversation I was just having with our producer before you walked in about the amount of work. And do you have the ability to be present when you're not working?
Yes, it's difficult for me personally.
Me too.
I've had to really structure my life. Usually Saturday and Sundays, I really try not to look at my phone. I really try not to work. I am lucky because I have a spouse who is always wanting to go on an adventure. So next weekend we're going to Vancouver to see Neil Young. We're going to, we just went to Sun Valley. We do a lot of fun, interesting stuff, which kind of gets me distracted a little bit. I like my work. I love my work. So I'm thinking about it all the time. But I think what I learned probably, 10 years into my career, I had a boss who made me go on a vacation. I had never taken a vacation. And he made me, and I went to Europe for 3 weeks. I had never gone to Europe. And it was the best thing. And I came back and I was so much better at my job, so much more refreshed. And so I'm a big believer that you do got to take those breaks. And I think I'm better if I take breaks. So trying hard. This is still a lesson I have to learn. And again, sometimes it's really busy and you have to be on. And as a CEO and as the leader, you need to really shine. But I also think as a leader, sometimes you have to show people, yeah, you got to pull back or give yourself a break. So I was happy. This year we went to New Zealand for 3 weeks in February, and that was great. And I pretty much worked a little bit, but did a lot of hiking, diving, fun things that you can't think about anything else.
But again, it's taken you time to develop a team that can support that.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm really lucky. I have a phenomenal business partner who Cassandra, who really...
Can't wait to get her in the chair.
Yes. She will be more interesting than me, but she is terrific, and we have a lot of fun, and we support each other. And I think that's one thing we both said is we want to take that time. And so I also have a phenomenal senior team at LPA, and they're really in it, and they are very focused. And so that's given me a lot of flexibility to be able to take some time off. And sometimes you have to make yourself do it. Like you don't need to do that
you
last
are
phone
singing.
call.
You are preaching to me right now.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I need to take some time off.
Yes.
And kind of rebalance,
Yeah.
right? A reset. And I'll take a couple days, but not extended.
I think
So
you need extended to get your mind reset. And I do things like every morning I do a morning meditation. I found that really helped me. Just before I look at my phone, before I do anything, I sit down and do that. And that's very hard because I want to look at my phone first thing in the morning. But it helps you get a little space. I like doing things that you can't do anything like yoga where you have to really focus on that or something else. But yeah, no, I'm a really bad workaholic, and I have to really put in place some breaks to make sure. But I would say to anyone who is, it's this balance between being a go-getter and really being competitive and good at what you do, but also giving yourself some time so that you can reset mentally because you come back stronger.
I read something recently where it was on this topic. Obviously, it's circling around me for a reason. And it was talking to an entrepreneur who said, I love my work so much because all of my hobbies are folded into what I do. Like, and I look at mine, I love entertainment, I love people, I love food, I love reading, I love all these things, and I get them with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But it still falls under the guise of work.
Yes.
So,
Well, and you have a unique, you get to meet interesting people, be a unique position. But I think when I turned 50 was kind of a real renaissance year for me. I changed a lot of things in my life. It was the year my daughter went to college. But I'll never forget I was being interviewed by a magazine, and they said, "What are your hobbies?" And I said, I like to work." I didn't have any hobbies.
I just make them up.
Yeah.
Just lie.
I used
No,
to
I'm
do
kidding.
needlepoint in college. So that's when I really discovered I love to hike. My husband and I love to hike. I love to hike with my girlfriends. I love hiking. It's just really, that opens up. I love diving. My daughter got me into diving, and that's a great experience, So I started to think, boy, at 50, I better get some hobbies. And so, my hobbies were all around work too. And I think we're both lucky because in our work, we get to do some fun, interesting things. But we also got to get some time for ourselves.
I'm going to leave here and schedule a vacation.
Good. That's what,
Good.
what I do is I schedule my vacations 3 years in advance. And part of that is so I can't chicken out and say, oh, I can't go. It's on the books. It's there. And
Pay for that airline
I paid,
ticket,
I just
and you're
paid.
going.
I'm going to Belize. I'm going to Vietnam, and we're planning Africa. So I've got.
Ooh, we have done Africa.
Yeah.
I said, oh my God, about 1 million times.
Yeah,
It is amazing.
It looks incredible.
So in your career, was there a point that maybe an early turning point for you? I had no idea about the gun point situation. That got you into policy. Then when did you become really avid supporter of women? I mean, of course you're a woman, but there's usually something that spurs us to that. Did you have that incident in your career, or something that was there legislation that you're like, nope, I've got to make sure this happens?
Well, I think I came up through politics where it really wasn't. I had very strong mentors, mostly men. A couple of women mentors, but when I first
But
started,
when
in
we
politics,
started, there weren't a lot of.
no,
Okay.
there was no women in the difference in when I worked for Governor Duke Majan, there was one senior woman in the senior staff, and she was the scheduling secretary, and she was a phenomenal mentor, Sue Glad. And then when I worked for Schwarzenegger, some 20-something years later, it was all women, the woman chief of staff, 50% women. So it really changed significantly. But I think seeing a couple of different things in my career. I was in a non-traditional role at that time. I mean, working as a press secretary, there had been some women press secretaries, but really it was mostly still male-oriented. And so I had a very good boss, and he was terrific, and I was on my way for a great career. And I had an incident with a reporter who invited me out to lunch very early in my career when I was just starting out. I was an assistant. I wasn't a press secretary. And I asked my boss if I could go, and he said yes. And that was a big deal to have lunch with a reporter. And, this was a big-time reporter. He was very important to the governor's office, to the governor. And we had lunch, and it was really inappropriate. He hit on me the whole time. And I was pretty
How old were you?
devastated. I was 22.
Oh my, yeah.
And I was just starting out. And I really felt like I had done something wrong, that I had compromised my career. And I didn't want to tell anyone that. And I had a really supportive boss who knew something was up and asked me, and I finally told him. And I will say all the way up the chain of command in the governor's office, they supported me. And my boss at the time said to me, "Why are you apologizing for this happening?"
Because I'm a woman.
Yeah, because
That's
I
what
don't
we
want
do.
it to hurt my career.
Absolutely.
And I must have done something wrong. And he said, stop apologizing, stand up, because if you don't stand up now, this is going to keep happening. And I think it was a really interesting life lesson at that point in time. And it's still to this day, I think, making sure you stand up at certain key times. That was really hard for me. I would not have said anything to anyone. And it later in life, I saw when the Me Too movement happened in the Capitol, and I felt like I always had the support of really good mentors. I also feel like I was good in what I did, and I think that's one of the key things. I think the fact that I was a woman, yes, that was important, but I was good at what I did, so people wanted me to continue to be successful. But I did have an experience with a young woman who called me and said, "Can I have a cup of coffee with you? I need some advice." And she had a similar experience. This is some 30 years later. And it really hit me that it's still something that happens. It's not just to women, it happens to everyone. And that was one of the reasons why I think She Shares is such an important thing, because it has a mentorship element. It pairs young women with more experienced career women who can give you that life lessons as well as professional experience. And I think, everyone's kind of experienced it at one point in time, and it's how you have the tools to react or to stand up for yourself is really important. So I've always been a big supporter of women. I think that it's really important you reach back and help other people when you've been successful. I've had a lot of women who have done that for me. I'm very proud of the work I've done with a lot of, trailblazer women like Maria Shriver and other people who have really, opened the doors and have, very confident about talking about things. So I think it's an important thing. It's what I love about the Jacqueline too. I really love that that men are, this is open to men and women, I know, but I love the empowerment of women here. A lot of the programs here, a lot of the camaraderie. I've met a lot of really interesting women who are not necessarily in my line of work, but are champions or people who are successful in their careers.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
I often talk about book club here. After the book, I usually ask who knew each other before book club, and no one did.
Yeah.
And they're sharing things that they're surprised. You start about the book, and then you go to life, and then you go to incidences and experiences. It's rich. It's really rich.
That's good. Oh, I have to come to that.
You'll have to come to
That
it.
means I have to read a book. No, I'm kidding. I'm married to a librarian.
I know, you're married. Which I do love when he comes in. We do talk about literature, and he loves this room.
Oh, he loves the library, yes.
I know,
yes.
which makes me very
But he loves
proud.
every library. I've been to more libraries all over the world than anywhere else.
I could go.
Yes,
I will
yes.
travel that. I'll go that road.
Oh, and it's beautiful. They're beautiful, yeah.
They are beautiful. So on the note of women, talk more about She Shares, because how did that actually get started, and who were the founding members of that? Because when I look now, it is a who's who of boss ladies.
Yeah.
So how did that
Terrific.
start?
Well, I got to give credit to Karen Skelton,
Okay.
who is a very, very dear friend, and we had worked together through the years with Maria Shriver's Women's Conference, which was one of the largest one-day gathering of women in the world. And it was a phenomenal conference. Everyone from Bono to Beyonce to, you name it. The Dalai Lama would come and speak at this one-day conference. And she called me one day, and another friend of ours, Tina Thomas, who is a very respected lawyer here in town, and said, we know a lot of really interesting women who are at the height of their careers. Wouldn't it be cool to kind of do a speaker series with them? And I said, yeah, I'm in. And our first speaker was Tani Cantia Sakawia, who was the Chief Justice at the time, who had an amazing story to tell about how she got into law. She's a first generation. She had to interpret for her family in court when they were going to be evicted. And she realized how important courts, laws, and judges were. And she went to law school and, of course, became the Chief Justice eventually. So we really felt that it was great to have these conversations with women at the top of their game. So we've had women who are, Kamala Harris to Republican and Democratic leaders of the House and the legislature. We've had Maria Shriver. We've had Jennifer Siebel Newsom. We've had women who are at the top of their game in sports. We did a segment called It's Not Your Father's Business Anymore, and it's women CEOs who took over their father's businesses. That was really interesting.
Love
Yeah,
that.
that was great. Lena Fatt was still with us, and she was terrific. And Nicole Van Vleck, who, runs one of the biggest rice operations, and Doreen Dominguez, who runs a construction company. So it's really to help show women of different ages, how did you get there? What were some of the challenges? It's not so much a professional as a personal journey. And part of that, and our phenomenal director is a woman named Tamara Torlickson, put together a mentorship program. And so for 13 years, there's been a mentorship program. You can sign up to be a mentor, and then they will pair you with a mentee. And it's usually someone who's in the first 2 to 3 to 5 years of their career. Try to pair people who have similar interests, but not necessarily. And we just had a mixer at my office earlier this week. It was phenomenal to see how these women are really supporting each other. And the mentors get as much out of it as the mentees. And it really, I think, helps women with a pathway professionally. And so it's been a great, great program. I love being part of it. And
I can tell you light up when you talk about it.
Yeah, I do. I love it. We just had the Cecilia Aguilar Curry, who is the chair of the Women's Caucus, just spoke led by Catherine Baker, a former legislator who now runs the UC Center, had a great conversation on the Women's Caucus and what they're doing.
I think it's really interesting. There's both sides of the aisle.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's really important.
Bipartisan. Showing people in all walks of life, we try. I mean, I really encourage if we have any women who want to participate, or, we try to show. I talked to women in law enforcement and firefighters that we might do a segment on women in the military. We've had Soraya Nelson, who was at the time correspondent for NPR in Afghanistan, which was fascinating, her story. So we try to show different, perspectives on that. But
because a story has so many lessons, it really doesn't matter what side of the aisle. It's a story.
Yes.
Which I do love. I love what you do. And Donna, there was a time, this is my story about you. And you won't even remember it because it was just an ordinary day. You and Cassandra stopped by. We had not yet opened the Jacqueline, and it was raining outside. You were on your way to a Kings game, and you knocked on the glass, and our former CEO, Marin, and I were here. It was probably 5:36, but it was dark. And you came in, and we were kind of a mess. It had been an incredibly hard day. And you sat down, and Marin's like, let's have some champagne. Well, we didn't have champagne glasses, so everyone drank out of paper cups. And you sat there and, you asked us, you just looked right at me and you like, how are you? And I almost burst into tears.
Oh.
And I looked at Marin and Marin looked at me, and it was kind of like, blah, 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 blah. It was a bunch of alphabet soup. We didn't really say anything. And you stopped us. And Cassandra looked at me and, it was like this moment. And you looked at us and you said, it's going to be okay.
Oh, good.
And it was like what we needed to hear in that moment when we felt like nothing was going to be okay. But here are these two women that just stopped by. And you talked a little bit about your early career. You don't remember, do you?
Yes,
okay,
I remember. I remember the champagne.
Okay, it was Lanson's. It was really good.
Yeah, it was very good.
Okay, but it made such an impression, and it really did settle us. And it was two women that had, quote unquote, make it. You're very successful, you and Cassandra both, telling us, you're going to be okay.
Well, I'm really glad we could be there for that moment, because I think that's important. And I think you were going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And what you were doing was phenomenal. And we were really excited about it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where, showing up and telling people that is really, really important. So you were okay.
We were. But it was that presence.
Good.
Which, you know what? A text would not have done it.
Yes.
Because it was seeing you. It was you guys walking, or you walking in and sitting down and just kind of being here with us in the moment. Yeah. It just meant the world to both of us.
I think we got to do that more for people too. So I will keep doing that. Thank you for telling that story.
Well, you're welcome. And so as she shares, could that be a hobby for me?
Yes, absolutely. That could be a hobby.
That's not work.
Yeah, that's not work. It could be a hobby. Although, we would love to have you involved with that. It's really great. It's like coming here. It's that fellowship. It's that networking. It's that conversation. It's and I think it's also really, there's a lot of really interesting people in our community. And believe it, we've had women and men speak. So it's fun. I like doing it.
When we were talking last week, you had mentioned a a friend of yours that really helped because okay, I'm gonna retract. I have had girlfriends. You showed up that night, you and Cassandra, and it was a vote of confidence, if anything else, like you're going to be okay. But I've also had friends show up and go, okay, we need to have a come to Jesus. There is something that I'm seeing and that we need to talk about it. And you talked about a friend of yours, and I think you were around 50, and you said that you were out of shape. And
Yes.
talk about that because I giggled when you told me that story. I think it's really cute.
Well, I'm very lucky because I have a lot of really great girlfriends. But I turned 50, and a girlfriend said to me, hey, I'm going to take you to a spa for your birthday. I said, great. And she didn't take me to a spa. She took me to a boot camp, which you hike about 7 miles a day. The food is all vegan. It was a life-changing experience, and thank God she did because I love it, and I still go every year to a boot camp and do that, and it really did change my life. It was a health transformation, and I think it really also woke me up to the fact that you can work and you can be really great at what you do, but if you don't have your health, and I mean spiritual, mental, and physical health, you won't succeed, and I think it really does impact every other aspect of your life. And so it's a big part of my life now. I love exercising. I love being healthy.
Is that where the love of hiking came in?
Yes, a lot of it came from that. My husband and I were really trying to figure out something we could do together that we love. And we had always been pretty active, but not hiking. And we do these hiking trips all over the world. We've gone to Norway, the Lofoten Islands, New Zealand. It's kind of cool when you go to these places and, you do these beautiful hikes. And people are like, oh my God, you must be, you can hike like that. A lot of times it's not really strenuous, but it's beautiful because you're in so many different places.
And it's so good to be in nature.
Yeah. Yes. And that's another thing. And I think what I did is flipped my life. My life was about, I love to eat and drink. I love to go have drinks with people. I love great martini or champagne.
I know this about you.
Yes, you do. And you know that I love great food. But I flipped it, and it was about my health. And then that's something that you do as a treat, as opposed to that being a standard in your life. And I think so many people, both men and women, with the stress level, that you go to what's going to give you that comfort. And food and drink is a lot of comfort. But, exercise can be terrific. So my girlfriends love to hike. And so we go hiking. We do a lot of, we love to go to health spas. We love to go to a lot of fun things like that. But yes.
And do you do this mainly with women, or do you
my
have a
husband
group of women?
Now the boot camp, my husband loves to go. So I went every year, and he said, well, I'm going to try it. And so he went, and he loves it. So now every year we go on our anniversary. It's our anniversary week. It's down in Malibu.
Marriage advice. I love that.
It's great. And, it's one of these things where you really, it's really about you. I mean, that you hike in the morning, you get up really early, you hike, you do yoga, you do sound bowls, you do healthy eating. I try not to work, but you have to maybe once in a while sneak something in. But we every night have an early dinner there with the whole group. You're with a group. They have a beautiful garden, and we go to the garden after dinner and have a cup of tea and watch the sunset. Get up early, do a meditation in the morning, and we spend a lot of time together. It's a great experience, and I've shared it with a couple other couples who are doing it. Now, my girlfriends still do it once in a while. I like to go with the girlfriend, but my husband loves it, and we have a great time.
I'm going to get that information.
Yes.
That would be good.
It's a lot of fun, and they really make it work for you. So if you're not a hiker, you can do other things, but it's fun. And he and I will we'll go on a hike, and can talk about a variety of issues while we're hiking. My favorite
walk it out.
Is to start a 4-hour hike and go, hey, let's talk about our marriage. It's like, oh, okay. No, it's great.
How long have you been married?
38 years. So 38 years.
To the same man.
To the same man, yes. As
Not
we
collective.
joke, 20 of the best years of our lives. No, I don't say that anymore because it's been a terrific thing. And we're going to celebrate our 40th. I'm really excited. Our 30th, we had a big party, invited everyone who was at the wedding, had it at the same venue. I wore my wedding dress. That was the most exciting
for
thing.
you.
And my
Go girl.
sister surprised me and wore the ugly bridesmaid dress. It was really great. But we had so much fun. And so we want to do that on our 40th. And celebrate again.
So
And
38.
yeah, 38. So we've got 2 years to plan it.
It is, it's being married for a long time. It's not for the faint of heart.
No, not at all. But he still makes me laugh. We have a lot of fun together. And he's really interesting. He's great to take on a trip because as a librarian, historian, he knows everything. So I always say, what happened here again? What's the history of this? And I'll
He's a
get to know.
walking encyclopedia.
Yes.
And he also has things to talk about. And I
Yes.
think that's really important in a marriage.
Yeah.
That you need things to talk about.
Well, we both have our own interest in lives, and we travel. We'll travel together. He travels. He does a lot of traveling too for work, and as do I. And we have fun. And he's always thinking about adventures, and I like that. I like that he's like, well, why don't we do this? Let's go here and see
Who's the
this.
planner? Who
We
plans
both
them?
plan. I just planned this trip we did. He plans a lot of it. He loves music, so he's a deadhead. He's been
I know
dead
that.
many times, but
been dead
so
many
he'll look at really lots of times. I can only do one. He will plan travel around seeing people. So we're going to see Neil Young in Vancouver, and we had to see the Dead in Colorado, Tom Petty at Red Rocks when he was with us. So we love doing that. It's fun. You can go see a great new city and have fun together and see a music venue.
So if you gave marriage advice, what would a few of your tips be?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I think you have to have a great friendship. And we have an amazing relationship, friendship. He still makes my heart stop a little bit when he walks in the room, but he's funny and he's fun, and I like to spend time with him. And I think that's very important. I think that you're willing to invest. Marriage doesn't just happen. It's like any relationship. You have got to invest in it. You've got to invest time. You've got to invest ego. And you've got to learn to say, sometimes I was wrong, or back off a little bit. And, I should take my own advice on that. And then I think...
But he's not here, so
yes,
you can
yes,
say
that's
it.
right. I think also marriages go in cycles. When you have kids, stress. I watch a lot of young people now with a couple of kids, and I remember those days. It was really stressful, and my husband was always very involved in our daughter's life, and we were very lucky to have a phenomenal nanny, Becky, who's still, she and her husband are still very much a part of our lives, and really helped me be successful. But my husband, when we had Katie, I had a C-section and went back to work in a week, which I would absolutely never recommend to anyone. But he had paternity leave because he was with the Chronicle, and he stayed home and took care of Kate. And he would, do her hair. Wouldn't be the ponytail up here, it'd be the ponytail like a deadhead back here. But he would do all the stuff and very involved in it. And so I always feel like he shared. We pretty much shared responsibility, which I think is really important. And he's always been incredibly supportive of me professionally, which I think is hard sometimes, because sometimes it meant he had to give up stuff. When I went to work for Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was the bureau chief for the Chronicle. He couldn't cover politics. I mean, that's a huge sacrifice. And so I think that we have learned that, and I think talking to each other is really, really, really important. So,
And it's not even all the time, right?
no, it's not.
I've talked quite a bit because I've been married actually longer, 46 years.
Wow.
I know, isn't that crazy? And there are years that, basically we stayed married, but we didn't really like each other. It was hard. And you just made that commitment. I didn't want to change because there was no abuse or, I did not want to change one set of problems for another. I don't think people stay in a marriage if there's abuse. I just, but if you're just going through a really rough patch and it's personality and it's, it's like you just don't like them that week or that month.
No, I think that happens in every relationship and marriage. And I think absolutely. I think about things. My husband was staying married to me at times when I was horrible, especially if you don't like yourself or you're going through a tough time. Other people don't want to be around you.
They don't want to be around you.
I think we went through that. And, your advice is exactly what my mother's advice was always like, well, you got to hang in there. but I think now working on it is important. Finding things you both love and having fun together. Knowing it's okay not to be together 24/7 too.
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
we really enjoy when we do stuff and then we come back together again and we're like, wow, what was that like? And now we have our daughter's 32. She's married to a phenomenal guy, Ryan, and we have a lot of fun with them. And so, it gets better. It really does get better. But like anything that's worth it, you got to hang in there. You got to work hard. You got to invest in it.
Invest.
Yeah.
And just wait till you're a grandmother.
Yeah, I can't
You
wait
will
for that.
lose your mind. It is like the payoff of all of it, especially when your kids are good parents, when you're not having to parent your grandkids. There is such a sweetness to that. It's like it's worth all of it.
Oh, good.
It's
I
worth
can't
all.
wait.
I know you're gonna be a phenomenal, and your husband,
Yeah.
loses mind.
Yes.
Loses mind. Well, Miss Donna, I thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
staying with us here at the Jacqueline. I know that those first couple months were pretty wild here. You have been a phenomenal member. I cannot thank you enough for hosting Maria Shriver here.
She loved being here. She thought it was an amazing club. I knew she'd love it. And that was such a fun day. And
It was such a fun day. But just when I tell people, when they ask, well, who comes? Who's been here?
Yeah.
And I pull her book off of our bookshelf and it's signed by her. And, of course, I get a little puffy. I'm like, yep, Maria Shriver was here. And I do have a funny story about her I'd like to share.
Oh, sure.
So she was leaving, and there was a lot of talk about when she was leaving. She was going to leave early, and then she said, no, I'm going to stay later because I really want to hang out and visit. And it was like, oh, my gosh, we were so excited, And I asked her assistant, I said, well, where is she flying out of? Which private airport? And her assistant said, oh, Southwest. And I went, Maria Shriver is flying Southwest. What are the odds of the person that she sits next to? Because I've never had a Maria Shriver sit next to me on a Southwest flight. And I thought, oh my gosh, she is really who she says she is.
oh, yeah. She flies Southwest and she loves talking to people. She loves talking to people. Come up to her and she'll talk to people, and she's very approachable. And when she was
lovely.
the First Lady of California, it was one of my favorite things. But she would talk. I'm like, we have to go. We have to go. We have to go. You can't. 'Cause
Well,
I
that's
was
what her
chief of
assistant
staff.
kept
Yeah.
saying. We really do need to go now.
Yeah, we're going to miss the flight. No, let me talk to one more person. No, she is who she is. And it's been one of the real highlights of my career was working for her. And when the governor got elected, was traveling in Europe and came back, and Cassandra Pye said, Arnold Schwarzenegger wants to meet you. And I said, Arnold, okay. So I flew to LA to meet him at his offices, which are really, you walk in, there's the Terminator. And we had a nice visit. And he said, do you want to come work in the governor's office? I said, Governor, I've worked in a governor's office and I was running a firm. And he said, well, my wife really wants to meet you. And I said, okay, Maria Shriver, great. I'd love to meet her. Well, 6 hours later, I was talking to her nonstop. And we just hit it off. And she is a phenomenal friend. And it's really exciting sometimes to be around her because of the people she's around. But she is very down to earth and a great friend, really shows up. So I loved it when she came to Sacramento and we could celebrate her and talk about her book. And really one of the highlights of my career was being able to work with her. And I still get the pleasure of doing some stuff and working with her. Her work on Alzheimer's is so important. Her Sunday paper, read it. It's terrific. It's the best thing. So we're really excited.
And we were excited that you brought her here.
good.
It will be part of our history. So if people want to stay in touch with you, how do they do that? How do they know where Donna is?
Donna, well, I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
You can go to
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. You can go to the Lucas Public Affairs website. I'm there. I'm on Facebook. I'm pretty accessible.
You are.
Yeah.
And you're a lady boss.
Yeah.
So I thank you so much for being with
Well,
us
thank
today.
you. I'm honored to be here.
Well, we just loved having you.
Good.
Thank you for spending time with us today and getting to know more about Donna Lucas. If you're interested in the Jacqueline, you can go to thejacqueline.com. That's our website. Jacqueline is spelled JACQUELYN. And if you're on Instagram, go to thejacqueline.official. And we hope to see you here soon. Bye.